Hi, welcome back to episode 4. Today, my thoughts out of the 10 commandments, the second commandment, you shall not make any graven images. No graven images before me. That has been in my mind this past week. This past week, not this past 2 days, 2 days ago, weekend ago, and it's important that we do not let sin take a hold of us. In America of this day, sin is too much to bear. Sin is too much to bear. Wickedness is too much to bear. Even political laws and policies of America always want to let what is wrong be right, and what is right be able to be stand and be maintained as right without no confrontation, without no controversy. America is trying to stand on biblical principles, but when the people perish and when wickedness and sin causes biblical principles to have flaw or to be lacked or to be weak and to be lacked in, it's not the leader's fault, not the political leader's fault, not the authorities' fault. It's the people's fault. We the people's fault for not keeping the standard, the biblical standard, the biblical principles of the Bible, of the Scripture. Recently, what I've heard was that a gay couple was trying to get married. I'm like, if that was permitted according to the Bible, that would already be happening. But it wasn't permitted because of what the Bible said of male and female. God created only one gender for both parties, for both sides, for male, for boys, for men, and for women, and for females. And why would both sides not like each other, but have same likeness, with same gender, with same identities? What shocks me is that our identity should be in Christ, and our way of dressing, behaving should always be the way we were created to be from our mother's womb. Because from our mother's womb, He created us, He formed us. But He didn't create it and form us in a way that we should supposed to be created and be formed. But we're supposed to be created and formed in a way that not only just honors and pleases God, but that doesn't go away from the biblical principle of gender or identity of gender, male and female, men and women. The Bible teaches that clearly, and the Bible states that, and the Bible declares that, and the Bible identifies that as the true biblical principle of Scripture. But we go away from it. We as human beings that are prone to sin always do something that always brings flaws, brings weaknesses, that the biblical principles of Scripture, of the Bible, always is not followed through. If we were to talk about sports, same thing like that. Why would you praise someone? Why would you even bet money over somebody or someone of your liking of a team if Jesus should be the King of Kings, the Lord, and the one that you're supposed to be like over that team player, of that sport, of whatever it is? Because if you cannot enjoy being in the presence of the Holy of Holies, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the Holy of Holies, why would you expect yourself to equate the same expectation for a player that you favor? Even you lose your money, even you waste your money, even you spend your money just to be able to bet upon that player, when the Bible and the scripture says to not do these such things that can prone you to sin and can be of wickedness and of what comes from the father of lies, the father of deceit, the father of pride, the father of greed, the father of ego, the father of selfishness, the father of self-centeredness, who is Satan himself. Because Satan himself, he came in this world just to not cause trouble, but to cause wickedness and evil and lying and cheating and stealing and everything else that we can think of, a part of evil. It's controlling us. It's bothering us. You have to make sure that what the enemy meant for evil is turned for good, and also what the enemy meant for good that is turned for good is not. Okay, I'm going to tell you this. What bothers me right now in this day and age is when you watch sport, you're not supposed to watch sport because you want to watch sport. You're watching sport because you want to make sure that what you're watching is something that can motivate you to be able to be like them, meaning be able to motivate yourself to be able to play, to be able to get exercise, to be able to look fit, so that whenever you go back to your physician, a physician, they're gonna be like, "Oh, you're so healthy. Have you been playing? Have you been exercising? Have you been doing certain activities, certain hobbies, certain et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?" And you have to be able to be honest and be truthful about what you do and do not do, and what you do and do not do, because it's all helpful for the brain function, for the mental function, for the behavior function of your body and of your mind and of your brain, because it doesn't only just honor and please us, not just the healthiness of your body and of your mind, mentally and physically, but it also helps you be able to be quick and responding to people, and conversation and conduct, quickness and being able to be stable in what is done, what is said, what is acted upon. Being able to respond quick on decisions that may be wrong, and being able to say sorry, or saying or saying forgive me, or accept my apology, or whatever. To be able to be quick to react or to respond because of your healthiness. Sports should not be something that you idolize, or sports is something that you should not be spending or wasting money on, but that you're supposed to be watching and learning and getting motivated to be wanting to exercise, so that your brain function, your body functionality can be able to be healthy and not dysfunctional. Because healthiness should be the thing that could make you respond quick, or to decide quick, or to live the way you want to live, without being able to worry about this diabetes, this health issue, this health condition, this health problem, this health that. Because when you mentally and physically are disabled or dysfunctional, it's not unto you. It's unto your healthiness. What did you do to be healthy? What did you do to be healthy? In your relationship with one another, how are you healthy? Are you cussing a lot? Are you smoking a lot? Are you X and Y and Z a lot? Instead of being able to have friends that can be able to get you to not do what you have been doing, and living new, living fresh, and living strong, not in sin or not in your same condition, but away from it, to get even more healthy, to get even more strong, to get even more strength. Because it's not just what a believer is supposed to do, but it's supposed to be the way we get healthy physically, we get healthy mentally and behaviorally. That's why whenever you yourself go to vacations, that's why you mentally refresh yourself. You behaviorally and mentally refresh yourself whenever you go to vacations, or whenever you go somewhere, just for like 10 minutes or 20 minutes with a car, like to the mall or to grocery shopping, whatever. That's why your mental frontal cortex gets refreshed. When you're supposed to be angry, you're not angry anymore. Or when you're supposed to be mad, you're not mad anymore. When you're supposed to be X and Y and Z mentally or behaviorally or emotionally, you're not anymore, because it's refreshed, because it all matters with your healthiness, your health. Whenever you have stress, whenever you don't have peace or relaxation in your body or in your mind or in your thoughts, you have to be able to refresh yourself, be able to go out, and not try to think of anything, refreshing yourself, your mind and your thought, mentally, emotionally, behaviorally, because it's not just the Christian way to do, but it's the way that keeps your mind, your body healthy and function right and function properly. You know, 10 minutes a day, walking, jogging. You know, it's necessary for you to be healthy mentally, physically, and emotionally. Healthiness is necessary and needed in the body, in the mind, in the thoughts. Because without healthiness, you start thinking things that you're not supposed to think. You start living and acting and behaving the way you're not supposed to behave and think and live. And all of a sudden, you fall into a ditch or a trap where your mind is not yours anymore, but it's controlled or it's functioned differently or is acting and controlled differently because you're not you yourself anymore, or you're not who you were from your mother's womb. You become different because you don't because your mind is not thinking right. Your emotion, your behavior, your mental is not the way it's supposed to be. And so you yourself don't become who you have been, but who you are. Someone different, someone different, someone not the same as who you were in the past. Why? Because you are letting your mental, you are letting your behavior, you are letting your emotion take control of you to not getting you to be able to be healthy, but getting you to be dysfunctional. Being dysfunctional and not being healthy are the things that Satan comes to kill, steal, and destroy. What is pushing you back and not furthering you in your success, furthering you in your accomplishment, furthering you in what you're supposed to be in 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 years, but holding you, but pushing you back, but limiting you. Because it's all the lies of the enemy that cause you to be this dysfunction, to be unhealthy. Being unhealthy is something that is not just scientifically or behaviorally or emotionally or as psychology say. It's not just because of how you act with one another or how you communicate with one another or how you behave with one another, but it's how you grew up, your personality, your genes also gets influenced and the effect of genes and your genes, the influence and the effect of your genes, your personality. I mean, the way you grew up in life. All of those matters to how your healthiness uh, is seen or is resulted out. Even even psychiatrists, even um, physicians and doctors and nurses will be like, "There's something wrong with your mind, your brain, how you react to things, how you reply to things, how you respond to things, how you communicate to things." And it could be how you grew up because you've been growing up by yourself, so you're always in a small environment where you're always not out of your comfort. When I was, um, I'm gonna say this. When I was not too long ago moving to the state of Missouri, my mind was always in the same state of like I was always in an environment or in an atmosphere that is so small that is so tight knitted that whenever I'm going out of that community, out of that environment, out of that atmosphere, I have to be able to be I have to be able to get used to that is comfort, to be able to be comfortable because it was like something that was like abnormal, that was not or that was like not normal for me to be able to be a part or to be used to, and it sometimes can lead us to be introverted and not get able to get that quick response to be able to be extroverted. Yes, you can be extroverted all you want among small, like close friends that you build up over time, but for people in the majority or the majority, you cannot just always be introverted and be by yourself. You have to be able to step out and be able to be extroverted because the majority are waiting for you to be able to be that person that has a voice, that has a say, that wants you to be letting your potential be greater than where you are where you are at right in the current in the right now in the moment. So so what I'm saying is, don't try to hold yourself to be able to be always in always in your comfort, or be always introverted, because you're gonna always need to be with close friends, with friends, and then with the majority, you always need to be able to be uncomfortable in those type of situations, because it's not always. Some people are going to be like, oh, it's the devil. You can just cast out that devil of discomfort, that devil that's trying to make you introvert. No, sometimes it's not the devil. It's sometimes how you grew up. If you grew up not even not even communicating and relationshiping with people, family or non-family, that's that's who you. That's your personality. That's who you are. That's your gene. If you always talk to people, if you always communicate with people, if you always go out of your comfort zone to be an extrovert, it's just how you grew up. Also, how you grew up influences and affects your adaptation to society, your adaptation to culture, your adaptation to big environments, to large environments versus small and tight knitted environments or community, because it all depends on how you grew up, your childhood, and then your teenhood, uh, and then your adulthood. The way you grew up matters to how tight knitted, introverted you are, and how extroverted you are with friends and non family and family, and with the majority. Not just your friends, but with the majority. To be extroverted. To be out of that comfort zone, because when you're in the comfort of your own liking and your own wants, now you have to be able to adjust. Now you have to be able to. I'm not gonna say fit in, but you have to be able to enjoy, or be able to um, act or behave, or be able to function upon that community, or upon that society, or upon that culture. Because you can't always just be at a small community, or a tight knit community. You have to always get out. You always get out of that mess. You have to get out of that culture of being tight knitted, of being small community minded. Because when that community of that culture influences you to be able to not be able to be comfortable with being of the majority, being of a larger community, a larger society, a larger culture, your mental can your mental state can be able to be influenced. Your emotional and behavioral can be influenced. So what I'm saying is, always watch out for how you live, and and who you surround yourself with, and make sure that you're not always tight knitted or close knitted at a small environment, a small culture, because someday or one day, or for sure, you will be mentally dysfunctional, or disabled, and you'll not be able to communicate, react, talk, behave like how normal people, like how normal human beings are supposed to be like, and how you talk, how you behave, how you are as a human being, from your mind, from your reactions, from your behavior, from how you react to things, from how you release out emotions. All of those can be able to be influenced based upon the culture that you not just only grew up, but that you over time are consistent in. That you maintain in. Because being tight knitted, or a small culture community, like based, is always, even though there's positives and benefits, there's no good thing that comes out of being tight knitted sometimes. You have to sometimes get out of your comfort zone to be able to be going to larger environments, larger majority environments and culture, just to be able to understand both spectrums of the culture, being like, oh, if large culture lives this way, acts this way, behave this way, their culture, their adaptation, their way, their society is like this and behaving like this and all that. I need to be able to get used to it and be able to adapt that and adopt that. Be able to understand the pros and cons of being tight knitted and being in large environments, large cultures, large societies, large communities. Because there's no good or bad, and seeing the both aspects, the both perspectives of large environments and tight knitted small community environments, because those tight knitted community environments are more like safer but more inclined to causing stress, anxiety, mental dysfunctionality to be able to be to be able to spike, to be able to increase, to be able to scientifically be of an issue. To be what influences tight knitted communities, tight knitted families and communities. So you got to be able to make sure you know how to understand both sides of the spectrum of large communities and small communities, because because your mental mind, your mental brain, your brain, your mental, how you react, how you talk to one another, how you cry, how you laugh, how all that, how you speak to one another, the way you laugh, the way you say a joke, tell a joke, all that has to be able to be matched and flow correctly with the culture of where you are living in. If you live in a culture that is tight knitted, or a culture that is big and large in majority, in size, you got to be able to know what type of joke, what type of comedy, laughter is necessary, for what community, for what type of culture, what type of environment, what type of adaptation. Why am I saying this? Because if your mental is always on a tight knitted community where you're always home and you're not always out of the state, out of the states, or you're not you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and you're just always in a home based community, sooner or later, over time, your mind, your brain will automatically go, go and have flaws. I'm not saying it's bad to be not be around people, but it's bad to not be around people if they are not even having the same beliefs and likes and dislikes as you. And if what you do with the people that you communicate, you're interacting with, can be able to give you the hope you need. When I was moving to the state of Missouri, I wasn't lonely missing my family. I was more of lonely in the sense of not being used to a large and big environments. I've been always in 200, 400, 120 student environments. And so, like culture and environments. So, go into environments that are like 1,000, 800, 700, 600. You know, those are big numbers that can cause you to be have discomfort, or to be not used to that culture, that environment, that atmosphere of society. And over time, as you get used to it, you're like, oh, if one joke, if one gossip, if one whatever is said, the whole school, or not just the whole school, but probably half of the school over time will know. Whenever you're in a big school, sometimes the spirit of the school, or the mood of the school, or the emotion or the mood of the school can be able to be felt. The spirit of the school can be able to be felt because whenever uh whenever a complaint, whenever a gossip, whenever something is happening in school, it's just like that. Half of the students, half of the school already knows what's going on, and some that are like more introverted, more like not as like communicating with people, communicating relationship with people, are more like, what's going on? Why is the spirit? Why is the mood of the school so different today, or feels different today? Is something going on? That feeling of like when you're in a big school like environment culture. That's the things that you have to be used to, because you cannot let the spirit of the school, whether from whatever they heard, whatever is going on, you can't let your personal life be affected by that. Your personal life and how you study, how you do how you study, or whatever it is. In your personal life, in what you do at your work, at your job, at your whenever you have time to communicate with your family, you can't let that influence or affect the way you view or the way you see um, the school, and the spirit of the school. If there was something fun happening, the spirit of the school would already be able to be like wanting to spread it even to those that they never have even talked about it to. Like for instance, homecoming, for instance, Spirit Week, all that. The whole school knows that. Not just half of it, but the whole school. So what I'm saying is, whenever you're in a big school environment, the good, the bad, you know, whenever the school is going through something, and the and we can feel it through the school, like the school spirit. We have to make sure that it doesn't influence or affect your personal studying time, your personal life, like the way you study, the way you talk to your friends, your family, the way you go to work. You know, to be not influenced or be not affected by it, because it's not probably your business, but it's just affecting the mood, the spirit of the school, because of how big and because of how it's not just a person that knows it, but it's a couple of people, that can turn to half, and then the rest, and and then the whole school. So make sure that whenever whenever you compare like tight knit communities cultures versus like large big community cultures, that there will be differences and similarities that you will see, that you will experience, that you will go through, that you have to adjust. You have to be comfortable and adjust to. But then sometimes you have to just like mind your own business, just to be able to not get involved with whatever it is that may cause you to get in trouble, may cause you to, you know, get punished or be, whatever it is, whether it's at school, work, with law, whatever it is. Whenever you go to a small state versus a big state, a large state with a big enough population, you have to be able to make sure what you do, how you live, how you behave. It's always is always centered on you and nobody else's business. Because I'm not saying nobody else's business doesn't matter with you. It's just if it can benefit you, or it pertains to you and it affects you, then yeah, you can be a part of their business. But if it doesn't pertain to you and doesn't like benefit you and doesn't influence you, you know, for your good benefit, then you just have to mind your own business about it, and go through your life minding your own business. Because if it affects you and influences you, then go for it. But if it doesn't, then just mind your own business. Do what you do and be on your own, core, like, how would I say, your own zone, your own lane, your own direction, your own path. Don't worry about other people if they don't ask you for their opinion or their thoughts. Because it's not your business, it's probably that person in the family or that person in whoever they're with, it's business, so. But what I'm saying is, that's the influence or the difference or the perspective of culture that you can see in big versus small cultures. And then there's also a lot of cultures that you can also like compare that have different like adaptations and taste of food and drinks, taste of food and beverages, um, events like holidays, dress, like clothing style, hairstyle, what men and women do and do not do what men and women do and don't do. You know, all of that can be able to be also like something that is, how would I say it, the next level of the difference in small cultures versus big and large cultures. You know, men, what men and women do and do not do, their clothing style, hairstyle, laws, policies, different things are just influenced and are supposed to be something that we are supposed to adapt to be able to not to over time be able to be comfortable, not be able to live in the same discomfort, but be comfortable to be able to get used to how not how you have been living, but how you, how you how you have adapted yourself, influenced yourself to so that so that what a person does or what a person does or what a family or a community does, it doesn't influence or affect your personal life, your personal walk, your personal, you know, journey, of work, everything. What I'm saying is, if you're if you always are always comfortable with where you are and not always out of your, your discomfort, then all of a sudden you'll start to have mental issues, mental problems. Your men, your there'll be times when I would always when I would always like talk to myself and be like, am I still thinking right? Am I still breathing right? Am I still responding and replying to jokes the way they are, to laugh when to laugh, to cry when to cry, to be happy when to be happy, to be like neutral and normal and just be not nonchalant when I need to. So am I being a human being as it's supposed to be with normal human reactions, response of when to laugh, when to cry, when to be joyful, when to be, happy, when to be excited or enthusiastic, or when to be able to know when to be happy for someone, when an achievement or an accomplishment is made, or certain things like that. My human response, my mental, behavioral, and human response has to be able to be still the way it's supposed to be, the way it should supposed to be. Because if it isn't, then I'm dysfunctional, or I'm abnormal to what I'm supposed to be normal to. I'm supposed to be reacting normal to, responding normal to, communicating, relationshiping, normal to. And when I'm not, it's because I'm not being with people the way I should supposed to be. I'm not communicating with people the way I'm supposed to be, and I'm not doing and I'm not really doing what I should supposed to be doing, and I'm doing it on my own or I'm doing at a small community or in a small culture where now my mind is always in the comfort zone of being in tight knit community, tight small communities, where when I'm too comfortable with that, my tendency to talk to people, non-family and family, gets lessened, gets slacked. I lack in it. It gets lessened and it gets slacked. I'm going to say this: whenever you have mental problems, don't pray up and think that it's all the devil. No, sometimes it can be if the root cause came from the devil and from a spirit of a spirit of like whatever it is. But sometimes if it's depending on how you grew up and how like you're always in the house, so you have never gone out of the door, out of the house, or whenever you're trying to talk with people, you always can't relate to them, and so you're like, nah, I don't want to talk to people. You know, don't do that to yourself if you are starting to see yourself weak. If you are starting to see yourself lacking character traits, personality of reacting the way you're supposed to react, crying, laughing, being happy, or being or having excitement, enthusiasm properly. If you don't have those properly, then who are you as a human being? Are you mentally disabled, or just you're too comfortable with where you are at, and you're not getting yourself out of, but you're comfortable. Even scripture says it. Even scripture says it, to go ye into all the world and to preach the gospel, teaching them and baptizing them. What is one thing that the Bible tells us to do? To preach the gospel. Why? So that those that are in sin can turn from their wickedness and repent and be forgiven and remit that sin, because those that are in sin, when they are search and seek, they're saved. They may be particle, they may not be, but you gotta know when you search and seek those that are lost, they are not always demonic and a demonic influence. Sometimes they're just too much in the culture that they are used to. And so they want to fit into that same culture, that same environment, and not get out of larger, bigger environments where their mind and their thoughts are more closed. They're not doing what they don't want to do, but doing what they only are comfortable to do. And so their mind is always not the way it's supposed to be. Their thoughts, their intentions, the way they communicate, the way they relation with people are not the way it's supposed to be, because they're like, oh, I'm comfortable with where I am and I cannot go out of that to be able to grow myself and where I should supposed to be for 3 years, for 5 years in my life. If you can't even do the simplest things like cooking or cleaning, that's letting a signal out in your, and behaviorally and psychiatrically and mentally saying you're too used to the comfortable. You're too used to what you're comfortable with, and you're not always trying to learn new things, adapt to new environments, new learning skills. And when you don't learn, you don't grow. And when you don't grow, you don't get to explore, or you don't get to grow the way you need to grow. So your network, or the people you are supposed to be with, are not who you are supposed to be with, but they're a lower level, or a lower uh how do I say it? Like qualification than you, because you are not getting yourself out yourself. You're not getting yourself out of your comfort because you're used to where you're at, where the people that are below your qualifications are are people that are just barely passing, you know, high school or a certificate or a technological school where they're not meeting your standards. And now, whenever you ask a question, whenever you tell them something, for what they need to do, or like a command that you tell them, you're now mad at them because they're not in the same level as you, because you're not spreading, because you're not stretching out your horizons. You're not stretching out your horizons. You're not spreading out your horizons. Your horizon. You're not stretching out to go to going out of your own way to talking to a stranger, to go talking to a person of a profession of science, of nurse or a firefighter or law enforcement or doctor or pediatrician or physician. You're always in the comfortable where whatever you do, however you live, you're living it with people of either qualification that are lower or that are quite similar like you, but not as the same. And so, to be with the same people of your same qualifications, you have to be able to network or be able to communicate with people of the same professions, of the same field that you can grow and learn from, and be able to make sure that what you do is uh faithfully done, so that you can be able to not just earn a lot of money from being with same like people, but be able to feed your children and children to come, your grandchildren, your daughters-in-laws, your sons-in-laws, your grandparents, even your mom and dad. Whenever they're in an old age, you'll be able to feed them. You'll be able to look after them because of the networking, because of the connection that you made to be able to be with people of the same qualifications, whether it's a bachelor's degree, whether it's a master's, a doctorate, or even a PhD or an associate's degree. Being with the same qualification, being with people of the same qualifications is very important, because if you're with people of not the same qualifications, that are lower than you, of just GED, of just high school, of just a certificate from a technological school, a technology school, you have to be able to get to their same terminology, their same knowledge, their same wisdom, their same education, their brain comprehension, their brain understanding, and be able to be like, oh, it's supposed to be like this, sweetie. It's supposed to be like this, honey. When you're in when you're in a job with the same qualifications, meaning bachelor's, master's, doctorate, PhDs, you don't have to say sweetie, honey anymore. You can use all the terminologies you want, all the scientific terminology, all the nurse, doctor, physician, pediatric, psychiatrist terminology, all you want, medical, all you terminologies, all you want, because you're with the same people of the same mindset and of the same qualifications that learn the same things as you did, or similar. So what I'm saying is, don't try to make yourself be in small communities, or take communities where you cannot grow yourself to learn and knowledge and learn and wisdom, because wisdom is is how you decide the wrong and right, but knowledge is what you learn that can help you decide, to apply, to influence, and to affect your wisdom. How your wisdom of of how of how to know how to decide, of how to make decisions of wrong and right. You have to learn first from it. You have to be acknowledged to learn from it first. Yes, you can make mistakes all you want. You can you can make mistakes all you want, but if that doesn't affect or influence your wisdom, meaning the wisdom of how you decide wrong and right, you know, if your decision of making good choices, behavior choices, finance choices, um, decision choices, is not in the category of in the genre and category of wisdom, then you got to learn a lot because your wisdom, your knowledge affects your wisdom. The way the way you function, your decision brain, your judgmental brain of the good, the bad, the yes, the no, you know, and finance and your relationship with one another, family, non-family, and etc. So what I'm saying is always be able to be careful and watch out how you learn things so that you can be able to influence your knowledge and letting your knowledge speak for itself. I mean, your wisdom speak for itself according to the knowledge that you have. Because knowledge is hard to, to maintain. If you knowledge is hard to maintain, wisdom is hard to maintain. If in knowledge you can't sustain what you need to sustain and make sure what you are sustaining can be able to affect and benefit and influence your pre, prefrontal mind, brain. For instance, when to say no. For instance, when to say no, when to cuss. I mean, when to be angry, when to not be angry, when to be happy, when to be joyful, when to cry, when to not cry, when to be sad, when to be at a neutral like mood or manner. You know, to be able to be the way you are is important to be at because if you're always in the same boat or in the same you know way of how you live, you can't always be like you can't always be by yourself. You have to be with people so that those people can help you grow. Because you cannot grow without people that can help you grow. Family, non family, friends, non friends. It could even be a teacher. It could even be a law enforcement. It could even be a professor. It could be someone of an intelligence. But you got to learn to apply it in your wisdom, to apply it to know how to decide financially or behaviorally. You know, the wrong from the right, the good and the bad, the wicked and the evil, the wicked and the good. Knowing when to say no, knowing when to say yes, knowing how, when to say accept and deny, because it's not your decision to make, not your choice to make, but it's according to what you learn that affects your or influences your wisdom and what wisdom says. Wisdom doesn't say go to this trail, go to this path, go to this, do that. and be influenced by what I want to say. Attract wickedness, attract evil, attract spirits of the demonic. Because wisdom will tell you, train up a child as the way it should go. Because when it grows up, it will learn that wisdom is not how to attract the demonic, how to attract evil spirits, how to attract the enemy, how to attract darkness or influence the darkness or evil or the enemy. By being taught by what they learn, by being taught by what they heard, and being able to apply that for themselves, whether in family, non-family, among friends, non-friends, through teachers, through professors, through intellectual people. You got to be able to let your knowledge be able to influence and affect your wisdom, because wisdom is the way you decide and the way you handle situations that come again that comes in front of you and that will come in your future, because it's not your fault or it's not your mess whenever you think thoughts or that you're not supposed to, but it comes because of your mentality or the way your mental is developed. What I'm saying is don't what I'm saying is don't always think that everything that makes you dysfunctional or that makes you abnormal always comes from the enemy or comes from the devil or comes from spirits of the darkness or of the enemy or of the devil. Always remember that God is always on your side to be able to know if it's from your personal problem of how you grew up or how you are with family and non-family and with friends and among friends and and with non-friends. How you live matters to how you influence your mind, your thought, your emotion, your behavior, your mental response of how you react with one's sayings, with one's talk, with one's sentence, with one's phrase, of how you laugh, of how you cry, of how you communicate with people, of how you laugh, of how you cry, of how you get angry, of how you show emotions of anger, or neutral emotions of like just a straight face, however you react, however you respond, however you behave should be the way you're acting and responding, because it's not always that the evil spirits that are affecting you. It's always sometimes your physical mental self and how you grew up, and the way you communicate relationship with people that affects the way how your mental, your emotional, your behavior is influenced, because you cannot be influenced by nothing else but the way you grew up and the way your mental is being dealt with among being with friends, non-friends, family, and non-family. Because I'm going to tell you this: train up your mind the way it should be, because when it grows up to be, because when it grows up, it will be able to be useful for wisdom and reproof, at approaching it, to knowing what wisdom says. I mean, what wisdom does, and knowing truth and deceit, evil and good, wickedness and good. Because what I'm saying is that if you're always so tight knitted or close knitted, make sure that close knit or that tight knittedness cannot always influence your mental, because if your mental is dysfunctional or abnormal because of the way you live or because of the way you are in uh, the way you are among people or upon people, then you totally need help. Let's say you want to talk to someone, but you can't because you're always in this mindset of like, what would they think about me? How would they react about me? You know, the way I talk, the way I smile, the way I, dress, my personality, my character. People don't care about who you say you are and how you think others will react about you or feel about you, because it's just your response to your own self of about who you think you say you about who someone would think you would be like or look like. But what I'm saying is, assume don't always assume evil. Don't always assume evil. Don't let evil don't let evil dictate your every move. Wickedness, thoughts that are not of yours, mindset that you are thinking or that you're living towards that are not of yours. Don't behave towards it. Don't live towards it. Don't act towards it. If it's causing evil to be attracted, if it's causing evil to be attracted, if it's causing evil to get attracted, if it's attracting evil, don't think it, don't live it, and don't act upon it. Because the way you live dictates the way you affect and influence wisdom, the way to decide wrong and right, good and evil, good and bad. The way you decide that is the way you learn, and the way you grow from learning to be able to influence and affect the way wisdom is used. Wisdom doesn't come from anywhere, but wisdom comes from what you learn, your experiences, the lessons that you learn that will teach you how to say no, how to say yes, or how to be neutral and normal in your responses and your reactions. Because as a human being, you cannot just be at a tight community, a tight culture, a small culture, a small community, and be on your own self where whenever you're trying to go do something that is out of your discomfort, you you always are so scared to do it because you always second guess, always second think, you always have this like second thought of like, what would people think, or what would people say, or how would people react, or how would people don't care. Do what you need to do and be an influence and be able to have value in someone's life, and stop thinking what others would think about you in a negative way or in a wicked way or in a bad and evil way, because it's what you're placing and putting yourselves to hinder your potential, hinder the way you're going to see worth and value, not just in yourself, but in your success. Because your success don't come from anywhere, but from God and from what you learn, that it gets influenced and applied to wisdom, and what wisdom is not. I'm not saying not wisdom does say, but wisdom doesn't say, that can be learned through knowledge, that can be learned through teachings, education, because that influences and that affects the way it's applied to your wisdom of how to deciding the wrong and the right, the good and the bad, evil and good, because wisdom has to be influenced or be affected by the way by the things you learn and by the people you are surrounded by, communicated by, and the way that they are affecting the decision of your future, not the decision of the current, but of the future. It's the future more more looking brighter, more looking more pleasant and brighter, or is it looking more sadder, or is it more looking weak? Is it more looking? Is it more? Is it lacking more than less? Because if you cannot keep God first and letting yourself learn from the mistakes you have made, to letting wisdom be able to be not influenced by friends or family that are not wanting you to grow, then you gotta get yourself out of that mentality, out of that habit, out of that culture, out of that community, out of that culture that's causing you to push yourself back with deceptions, with doubts, with worries, with lack of trust, with lack of submission, of trying to letting your future be bright instead of not letting it be. Because how you train yourself from childhood helps you decide how finance, how whatever it is, can be able to be achieved successfully, can be able to be accomplished successfully. Because your mentality is not always fixed, it's not always going to be fixed on blaming others, but yourself, and you limiting yourself to the potential that you are supposed to place yourself in. Because it's your thoughts and your way of saying, I can't do it, that limits you, that enables you to close you to not be who you say you're supposed to be. You're supposed and being tied up in some chain that the enemy can have a greater say in. What I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, do not let the devil have control of your knowledge that influences your wisdom. Wisdom wisdom cannot be influenced by anything but of the things you learn, the things you are taught by, the things you are educated by. Train up a child as they should be, as they are supposed to be. Train up a person. Train up a intellectual person of an IQ of 100, a IQ of 120 and above, to be able to use what they learn, to use what they're taught, to use what they're educated when they grow up, to be on their own foot, to be on their own self. Train up a child. Proverbs 22. Train up a child as the way they should be. Knowledge and wisdom and intellect are very important to have, to be able to know how wisdom is influenced, how to influence and affect wisdom, the way you decide things, the what you should and shouldn't do, how you should act and should not act. Those are all a part of wisdom because of your decision-making mindset brain being also influenced because of wisdom. Wisdom of knowing how then I behave, how did I act, how did I talk, how did I do something that you're not supposed to. It's all the effect and influence of wisdom, according to what you're taught, what you're educated, what you're taught, and what you're educated. It's all in that effect, and all in that influence. That not just only you adopt, but that what you learn, what you established yourself to use and for wisdom, has to be smart, has to be intellected, and cannot be something that would draw you to lazy people, wrong people, wicked people, but people that can grow you so that you can be able to be valued and worth for what you put your time, your effort into, so that what you learn, what you are taught, what you're educated can be able to affect your wisdom, and what wisdom says can be able to affect your future and who you are to become. Because how you were trained, how you were taught, how you were educated, how you grow up can affect the life lesson that you learn, so that the decisions that you make, the wisdom that you make, the wisdom that you have can be able to not be something else, but be of a value, but be at a worth that gets you to let be let you see a profession as just something that you do because you wanted to do it, but something that you earned, something that you actually are worth to receive because you learned it even when it was hard. You're taught, you're educated, even when it's hard, even when it's tough, so that your wisdom can be able to say, I told you so. Because you can't just let cheat sheets, shortcuts guide you through the way if they're not a benefit to proficienting you and your profession. Your proficiency doesn't come from anywhere, but it comes through your knowledge. That affects your wisdom, and that affects the way your future is determined. Your future is called. Your future is valued. Because you can't be on the lazy. You can't be on the uneducated. You can't be on someone that is lower of their qualifications, of their quality. Because how you are trained is how you're going to be affected, influenced, and how your future is going to be bright. How you are trained, how you are built, how you're taught, how you're educated is the way you are going to be, the way where you are placed, where you reach, where you expand, where you get yourself to be at. Because you can't be a doctor, you can't be a nurse, you can't be a psychiatrist, a physician, pediatrician, or a veterinarian, or a preacher, or a minister, or an evangelist, or a missionary, or someone else, someone of a profession in the engineering line or in the science line. If what you learn, what you're taught, what you're educated, cannot only just influence your wisdom, but can also influence who will develop you to be where you're placed at, so that your value cannot be of someone else's words, someone else's thoughts, someone else's inputs, but of someone of the same qualifications, of the same qualities as you. Because you can't devalue yourself, and you cannot always compare and contrast yourself with someone else if you can be able to reach it through hard work and with dedication. Because you can't get it through anything else but through God, and being trained up while you still can be, so that the effort of what you do, the effort of your accomplishment, the effort of your achievement can be able to be valuable, worthy, and be able to be where you profit off, where you benefited off. Because you can't get it you can't get it out of nowhere else but from God, and how you are trained from childhood, teenhood, up until adulthood, until letting God be your first priority, and then letting education, letting you what you're taught through intellectual people, because that will set that will affect your success. That will affect the efforts of your accomplishment, of your achievement. That is not just in the educational field, but for your life skills of when you buy a house, when you buy a car, when you handle finance like bank, when you have a job and earn money and finance and etc. To be able to know the efforts of how wisdom works and the value and the worth of that is leading you because of how you're trained. You can't be trained in something else that is not what you enjoy or that what you don't take interest in, because what you take interest in or what you enjoy affects the net worth of how you live, the net worth of how you are. I'm not saying I'm a good. I'm not saying where I am today is where I need to. I mean, like of a lot, but I'm trying my best to take myself out of where I am from tight knit community, a small community, into a big community where greater opportunities, greater connections, greater networks can affect the way I value myself and the way I see myself, so that I can be able to be of a certain profit income where I'm not living the normal that I live because of taking the risk and, and pushing and pushing myself to take the risk and then getting myself out of what I'm comfortable in into that is comfortable and being and to over time being comfortable with what I may be uncomfortable with in the past, to being comfortable with it in the present. What I'm saying is, don't dictate your success on on someone else's success. Your expectation versus your reality will always not be the same, but you can reach it through the efforts of hard work and dedication. Hard work and dedication gets you to reach you to where you're supposed to be, to not to not backing yourself away from it, but pushing yourself and getting yourself to where it needs to be, so that wisdom can speak for itself. Who you hang out with, who you relationship with, who you communicate and connect with, who you network with, matters to how wisdom speaks for itself. Because your success and the amount of money you earn and the amount of income you earn doesn't determine from who you hang out with or who you are with, but hard work, dedication, and how you push yourself up to your full potential, even when it's hard and even when it's tough, even when it's difficult, and even when it's impossible. Because with God, it's possible, and with God, He's He's the God, our Lord, our Savior, our God of education, our God of income, our God that will profit us to say, if we have knowledge and apply that to wisdom and push ourselves to be hardworking people and dedicated people, we will see the fruit of what we do come out, not to tamper us, not to harm us, not to get us to be not where we're supposed to be, but where we are supposed to actually be when the right moment, when the right day, when the right year, when the right time, when the right hard work and dedication gets us to be where we're supposed to be at. But so we can't be where we at if we cannot be trained up to get in the hard work, get in the hard effort, getting the hardship over with, so that so that the easy or the smooth process, the easy process can be able to be produced out from the hardships and the dedication and the effort of the hardship. Because mentally, that's one thing that can cause you to be dysfunctional. And second, that's the way you can cause yourself to lack the character of being a human. Is if my potential is not in the now, then how can I be able to let my potential of the future be what is pushing me for where I am now. If right now I work hard, I try my best. I don't complain. I don't say yay or nay or buts, but try my best. And in the future, I see the fruit of it. I see what is produced out of it, what comes out of it. I am not going to be ashamed of who I become, of where I am placed, where I am positioned in, because I will know if I do it with all my mind, with all my mind, and with all my soul, and with love, and with teamwork, and with communication, and with cooperation. I will see the fruit of what I am sowing, what I am seeding, what I am wanting to reap come out, because it will speak out, because it will speak itself out for wisdom and for the life benefit choice I made according to letting wisdom speak for itself. Let wisdom speak for itself, and let wisdom be able to take you to letting your potential not be of the low, but of the fullest potential. Yes, it may be hard. There may be hardships. There may be some time sacrifices or time management that has to be made just to be able to let your wisdom, just to be able to let your potential be not where it is right now, but where it should be. Because it cannot be because it cannot be in the normal, but where it's supposed to be for in 3 years, or in 5 years, or in 2 years. Because you cannot place yourself right now in the moment and where you are always been, but in something that you are always not. Because that gets you more people to be growing with in education and learning and intellect, but it also helps you make sure that wisdom speaks for itself, so that whenever you hear, see, or lazy people, or people that are not intellectual as you, or people that want to work the 9 to 5 more than working from a computer at home and being able to take vacations when they want. It shows you that wisdom doesn't speak for itself. If wisdom speaks for itself, and they let wisdom do the work, then their potential will not be just an employer or a worker, but a entrepreneur, but a manager, but a specialist, but a CEO, but a director, but a person that works remotely so they can take vacations all they want. Even when certain events, holidays, etc., comes up in their schedule, they'll be able to freely take them, because they let wisdom speak for themselves, and they don't talk to people that don't have the same qualifications or qualities, but they talk to people and they relationship with people and learn and are taught by the same people of the same quality and qualifications, so that wisdom can speak for itself. Don't let wisdom take you to the path that will not make you be successful, but let it take you to the path that will make you be successful, so that the income that you earn, or that the life you live, will be much more something that you earn with not not your strength and all that stuff like that, but with all your mind, with all your brain, with all you can, because you use your emotion, your behavior, your thoughts, and stepped out of what you may be comfortable in, and stepping out of that comfortable and letting wisdom speak for itself, so that your connection and your connection and networking with people can get you positions and potentials that are higher, so that vacation time, whatever time that you need, can be able to be spent more than being in the 9 to 5 without a weekend break, a weekend day off, a weekend, of rest, of Sabbath. So you got to understand, let yourself Let yourself have the ability to learn, to be taught, to be educated, so that wisdom can speak for itself, and so that wisdom can be able to get you to where you need to be. The quality and qualification of where you need to be. Not with people that are lower than you of quality and qualifications, but with the same qualifications as you. Because if a person that is lazy all the time, doom scrolling on social media, versus a person that is always on a computer, even though they might not be working because of they're still in school, but they want to know, but they still want to learn, and they still want to get themselves to be able to be the potential that they need to be in. They do not stop learning. They do not stop growing their mind, their brain, so that wisdom can speak for themselves, and the income that they earn, the connection, the network that they have, can be able to give them to get them to be in the fullest potential that they can be with people of the same quality and qualifications. To be in a manager position, a specialist position, a director, a CEO, even a VP or a president position. So don't take yourself lightly of what you are trained, teach, and what you train yourself to learn, to be taught, to be educated in, because that helps you to letting your wisdom speak for itself. Of who you hang out with, of who you speak to, who you communicate, who you connect, who you network with. Can it get you to have your fullest potential of where you are to be in 2 years, in 3 years, in 4, 5, 7, 6, 10? Because if you train yourself up well, then when you grow up, the fruit of it will be seen. Because the fruit doesn't come from people that are not the same as you, but people that are the same as you. Because they will lead you to where you do not want to be. But the people with the same qualities, same qualifications, same mindset will take you to letting your potential grow instead of not grow. Because your potential cannot be anywhere else but in Christ, and in the right people, with right communication, with right relationship, and with people that will only speak of things that are not already, but will be coming. Because wisdom speaks for itself.